Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky thinks Russian President Vladimir Putin will eventually negotiate to end the war. Here's what he told Vice News.
What would be your message to President Vladimir Putin right now?
Right now, stop the war, begin to speak. That's it.
And what if he doesn't?
I think he will. I think he sees that we are strong. He will. We need some time.
Vice News correspondent Ben Solomon conducted that interview and joins us now from Kyiv. Ben, after talking to the Ukrainian president, was he optimistic that the Western aid flowing in would be enough?
You know, I think the Ukrainian government right now is a kind of a complicated moment. For the past 2 weeks, they've been getting support. They've been getting just the shock of the world and the support of the world. But now, you know, it's at a point where I think you're starting to see a more concerned Ukrainian government, more concerned movement. You know, the American kind of decision to nix the plans to send fighter jets to Poland, just the kind of onslaught of Russian attacks. You're seeing kind of a new phase of the war start. And I think the Russians are kind of seeing that and taking an opportunity to see how far they can push it. So for the President Zelensky and for his kind of staff, I think it's an important moment to kind of keep the push going, keep their message moving, and tell the world that they still need the support, they still need people reaching out to them, and they still need weapons and just the time and just the kind of attention of the world to keep the fight alive.
More of your interview will be on Vice News later tonight, including President Zelensky talking about the necessity of a relationship with President Putin. Here's some of that.
Can you make a compromise with Putin? Can you trust Putin?
Trust? Oh, no, I trust only my family.
How can you make a deal with somebody you don't trust then?
We have to. We have to, because to stop this war, how to stop this war? Only dialogue, and only dialogue with him. He is the president of Russia, and Russia fighting against Ukraine. They came to our land, to our houses, and to our children. We didn't involve. Yes, we didn't invite them, but they are here.
Ben Zelensky talks about dialogue with Putin, but does that seem at all feasible?
I mean, I think in the, you know, as he said, there has to be some sort of dialogue. You know, the talks that have been happening over the past few weeks are hopeful. I think for the whole world. I think there's a hope that those talks can make some progress in the way that these two countries can approach a future and kind of make some concessions on each side. But, you know, the talks haven't pushed much, you know, over the past 2 weeks. There's been 3 of them now, and they really haven't kind of set many standards in some of the things that they have promised, like humanitarian corridors so people could evacuate cities that were being bombarded, really haven't held up much that strongly at all. So, you know, the complications of these dialogues, the complications of the continuous information and kind of fight between these two countries is going to keep going. I think, you know, talking with the president and talking about his relationship with NATO, his relationship with Russia, is really interesting to know just how, you know, how far he has to push it, how far he needs to communicate these problems as the fighting continues. You know, when we're spending time with him, and you can see him up close, you know, he's exhausted. He's really, you know, he told us he barely sleeps each night. He's definitely running on very little gas. So, you know, this is a person that, even though he's so beaten down by it all, and he's still very sharp, and he's still very jovial and helpful. He was kind to us, and he was very talkative. So, you know, this is a person that, you know, is very hopeful and very well suited to continue this fight.
And I want you to expand more on that, since, as you mentioned, you were up close with him in the middle of a war zone. What else did you learn about how President Zelensky views this fight?
So, you know, the time we spent with him was really interesting because, you know, this was a place that was so publicized. You know, you see him in this press conference room on the almost daily videos that he puts out. You know, you see him on the streets around Kyiv kind of making videos. To see it up close was really interesting to see just how secured and locked down his situation is. This place, this bunker, this like security room and press briefing room where we went is really, if you think about it, it's one of the most targetable places in Ukraine right now. This is a person, President Zelensky has been targeted many times, apparently, according to him. He's had many attempts on his life over the past few weeks. So these places are really locked down. To get there, we had to get coordinates and meet a car at a certain place. We had to change cars and drive in. We were taken through dark hallways, and he had to move rooms every couple of minutes just so that it could be more secure. It was surrounded by a really tight circle of security guards. They were all very focused. Like when I tried to put a microphone on him, they were very concerned. So this is it's definitely a tense place. It's a really serious and intense place to kind of for him to stay and keep working. But I think even through that, he's still very focused, and he's very hoping to communicate his message further.
While you've been in the country, what else are you seeing on the ground day to day?
So, the most of our reporting is with the people that are evacuating into Kyiv. Kyiv is, surrounded from the north, the east, and the west. And the bombardments that are happening in these suburbs are really quite brutal. And, safely we can kind of go to these places where people are flowing into Kyiv to evacuate these cities and see what is truly some of the most horrific and human scenes possible. I mean, really desperate people trying to get out of these towns where airstrikes have devastated homes. They've been hiding for up to 8-10 days sometimes in bunkers without electricity, without water, without power. These people are desperate. But through that, in the midst of that, what we're also seeing is a community of people, Ukrainian kind of unity that's coming together to help everyone. At these places where people are evacuating, trying to get out of these cities, you're seeing medics, you're seeing, volunteers, people just trying to help however they can, whether it's bringing food, whether it's helping give rides. You're seeing everyday Ukrainians stand up and say, how can we help? How can we give each other the space we need to get safety, to get food, to get water, all just the necessities. And, even though it's a really dark time, it's also really inspiring to see that and encouraging to know that even during these really hard times, this community is coming together, supporting each other, and keeping up the good spirit.
Ben Solomon in Kyiv with some really fascinating reporting and interview. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Thank you.